Um, Thank you all for being here for our May 2025 NestDC Client Town Hall. We do these town halls to try for a couple reasons. Number one, we want to connect with you and provide information on our company to you, since we are the ones that are marketing your properties. We are the ones that are handling a lot of the work that goes into managing your rentals. And so we want you to be able to uh, know us and understand what's happening from our side. We also like to share updates, legal and otherwise, about the landscape of the rental industry in Washington, D.C. and other industries as well. And give you a chance to, like I said, connect with us. So we'll go to the next slide here, please. So the region, you know, the, regardless of what your politics are, the region is disrupted. There is $1.1 billion of DC's budget for 2025 fiscal year 2025 budget that is it's unclear what's happening with it right now. There are potential cuts to all sorts of programs. There is a eviction landscape that is, let's call it, less than favorable to to Washington D.C. landlords. There's also a lot of good things that's happening. There's RFK Stadium, there's Capital One Arena, there's interesting things happening all over the place. But again, nothing is very, very certain. And so we're tracking a lot of this information for you, so that you can make decisions and intelligent decisions when it comes to what your goals are for your property, what your goals are for your business here in DC. Go to the next slide, please. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out with a little bit of what I just talked about, the state of the region. Our owner and founder, Lisa Wise, will take you through some of the challenges, some of the bright spots, and some trends, what we've learned this year. I'm going to talk a little bit about the legal landscape, the rental law changes, compliance changes that are coming up, significant ones, actually. And some changes that Mayor Bowser and the DC Council are working on for basically evictions and small landlords. We're going to talk a little bit about what our priorities are for you, our clients, and for our residents in 2025. We're going to let you know a little bit about what our marketing work is. Again, we are marketing not for only for ourselves, but for your properties. And we want to be unanimously regarded as the best property management company in DC, the only property management company that residents want to live in. Everybody wants to live in a Nest property. And so, of course, again, that benefits you directly. And so that's something we're working on. We're going to talk a little bit about the Birdseed Foundation, which is a 501(c)(3) foundation that we support that provides down payment assistance grants to homeowners and disadvantaged homeowners in the DC area. And if we have time, we'll take some questions from you, and if we can't get to your questions, we'll try to answer them afterwards. So let's go to the next slide, please. I think it's gonna be state of the region, Lisa, and I'm not gonna be able to do it, but let's see here. Oh, you want to do my legal update first? That's smart. All right, fine. We're gonna jump in and do my legal update first. Um, Look, I talk about this at every town hall, and I'll say it again, right? Pre-pandemic, DC was known as a resident-friendly jurisdiction, right? Everyone knew, oh, DC, it's hard to be a landlord. Hard to be a landlord in DC. It's so resident-friendly. The pandemics that the DC Council put into place during the pandemic that have stayed basically until last year, took that to another level, where we used to measure the first court appearance is called initial appearance. We used to measure when that came in weeks. We used to say, oh, it's taking about 3 weeks. It's taking about 5 weeks. Now we measure it in months. It's taking 3 months for your first, once you file a lawsuit, for the first appearance where the tenant has to come, the resident has to show up in court. That pushes the timeline out so far. Right now, we're looking at evictions taking 8 months, 9 months, 1 year. Evictions right now, Grace, I think you were just in court. evictions that are being scheduled right now are being scheduled for January 2026. Is that correct? Yeah. So if we're going in right now and we're trying, and you don't schedule an eviction when you file the complaint. You schedule the eviction 3 months into your case. So right now, it's right there. There you go. It's a year before evictions are being scheduled. There's no way that any landlord, much less a small landlord, can handle that type of uncertainty and that type of potentially not getting rent. Even if the resident's paying rent into the court registry, which sometimes they have to do, you're not getting it. And it's just not feasible. It is evictions right now, I would say, are like not a feasible option because of how long they're taking. And so what we're seeing, a lot of what I'm working on is trying to make deals with people to avoid evictions, and that's actually going to ultimately be. If you can swing it, it's ultimately going to be a lot more. It's going to be better for the landlord. All right, so I talked a little bit already about some of the changes that are coming. So Mayor Bowser came out with the Rental Act. The DC came out with the Eviction Rental Assistance Reform Amendment Act of 2025. And so basically, I mean, and the details, I'm happy to get into details with you, but basically what these laws are trying to do, or they're trying to streamline yeah, this is fine. They're trying to streamline the eviction process. Um, there's a program called ERAP, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Let's pretend that's what it is. ERAP was designed to be, and we've got Lisa, we've got video, and we're gonna get audio in just a second. Lisa, we just switched things around. I did the introduction. I'm doing my legal update, and then we can throw it to you for. You want to just come off and say hi though?
Hi there.
All right. You want me to finish?
I would love for you to finish, Pavan. Thank you.
All right. So during the pandemic and after the pandemic, a lot of the rules that were put into place when it comes to evictions were to make sure that residents were able to take advantage of ERAP. And so at every point during the process, there was a question, oh, is there an ERAP application pending? Oh, where's the ERAP document? Oh, did you fill out this ERAP form? And it was putting roadblocks in. What the DC Council has come out now and is saying is that look, ERAP is supposed to be one-time emergency assistance. It's not supposed to be designed to combat the high cost of housing or to be able to help a resident pay for rent when they can't afford it, and that's what it's being used as. And so we're going back to a time we're putting the emergency back in ERAP, with the goal of not allowing ERAP to tie up cases for months and months and months. And slowly but surely we are seeing that. So again, light at the end of that tunnel, but still a lot of work to be done to make sure that I mean, I think our goal, we totally believe in resident protections. We absolutely believe in that. And so, but what we need to get back to is a place, the pre-pandemic places where there's some balance that allows small housing providers to continue to provide that housing, right? When you say affordable housing, we talk a lot in DC about affordable housing. DC is a leader in affordable housing. We are not necessarily affordable housing providers, but you, our clients, these small landlords, are an important part of the affordable housing design of Washington, D.C. So that's the update on the evictions. Another update sort of from an administrative standpoint is you all know that in order to rent out a property in Washington, D.C., you have to have two things. You have to have a BBL and you have to have a RAD form. RAD is Rental Assistance Division. The RAD form is what most of you will claim your exemption from rent control. Right? For 40 years, the RAD form process has been done on paper, and it is switching to electronic. Yeah, on June 1st. And so everybody is going to have to resubmit their RAD forms by the end of the summer. And so we're going to work with you and figure out how best to do it. The way it's set up right now, every individual owner has to set up their own account. We can't go in and set up an account and sort of handle it for everybody. Everybody has to set up their own account, which is going to be cumbersome. And so we're trying to figure out the best way to navigate that for you so that all of you can get your RAD forms updated and in the system. So be on the lookout for more information on that. And then I like to continue to always talk about the fact that our DC elected attorney general is coming after landlords, and he's coming hard, and he continues to come hard. He continues to bring lawsuits against large and small landlords for housing code violations. If you are a slumlord in DC, which of course none of you are, and we are not, but the point is that housing providers are in the crosshairs of the DC Attorney General, and that just means that we all have to work really hard to make sure all of our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted. We do things the right way. It takes an incredible amount of work to do things the right way. That's why we're here. We're here to help you keep your properties licensed and in line with the housing code, and we just ask for your help in making sure that we can do our job. Um, with that, like, so my wrap up on the legal landscape is that things are looking great. They're still hard. Things are looking better. We're hopeful. But there are certain things like the RAD rent registry that we're going to have to get through, and we're here to help you get through it. So with that, we're gonna go back in the slide deck and turn it over to our owner and founder, Chief Nestor, Lisa Wise.
Thank you, Pavan. You can stop sharing and then I'll take over the screen. First of all, everyone, sorry for technical glitches. Happy Monday. It's Monday. My technology just proved it. And every day kind of these days for folks feels like a Monday. So appreciate your patience. But as always, Pavan has been an incredible resource, not just for us as a company, but for all of you as our clients and for the community. I don't know if anybody knows, but he is an elected ANC representative for his neighborhood. He's very active in the Washington, D.C. community, and I sort of swell with pride when I think about all the work that our teams have done to care for the community, which all of your rentals are part of. And that matters to us because we're interested in standing up and standing out for community. Again, I apologize for being a little bit late, but Pavan went through a lot of the heart of what we're interested in talking about, which are these active changes that have been happening in our environment legally, but we also know that a lot has been happening in our environment in terms of basically the world. So I'm going to share my screen now. I have to say that since the pandemic, I'm still nervous about sharing my screen. It's pretty funny. Okay, so can folks see my screen? And you're seeing the region is disrupted. And we're here to navigate with you. Correct. All right, perfect. I'm right on track. Okay. Listen, the region is disrupted and we are here to navigate it with you. We are also navigating what is happening. All of us are basically living a reality that we had not expected and one that is more jarring than we could have anticipated, even for those of us that were very concerned and worried about not only democracy, but our region. We're even more surprised than we'd expected to be. And so what do we do with that? I'm going to go over our agenda for this time together, which is really for us to look at the state of the region first and foremost. We're going to talk about the market as well. Pavan has already gone through the legal landscape for you. We can ask questions, or you may ask questions about that at the end of the conversation. We're going to talk about what our priorities are for our clients and for our residents as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about where I started, which is how do we stand up to stand out? What does it mean for us to be a small business in this community? What does it mean for all of you to be investors and also what I would believe are stewards of this city, because we're all part of the matrix of things that goes into us being, even in hard times, a great place to live. Okay, so I'm going to start with regional and industry changes and what we're learning right now. There's a lot to learn every day, all day. And it's a lot for us to keep up with. Again, I want to sort of highlight how lucky we are to have someone who's tapped into and tied to what's going on legally. And I can also offer that I'm very invested and involved in what's going on with our region, both politically, economically, and in terms of public-private partnerships, development, and other things. I sit on the Federal City Council. I'm a member of Leadership Greater Washington, and I have been a deputy assistant mayor for the condo world. So we do have a lot of inside information about what is going on in our region, and that is something we can offer all of you. I like to highlight that there are some bright spots. Um, DC will be welcoming home the Commanders, and I'm particularly excited about that as an opportunity for us to really identify ourselves and frame ourselves as a sports town. Being a sports town is a big deal. It means that we're going to be attracting people both regionally and nationally for games that range from soccer to football to basketball to hockey, women's sports, all of the things that I think can make a community come together seem to involve either a puck or a ball. And I'm not a sports person because I grew up in Idaho where there are no sports except skiing. But I do recognize that in terms of culture, people coming together and community, that being a sports town really matters when it comes to being a destination. Being a destination matters for Washington, D.C. It matters for your investments. So that, in addition to all the other projects unfolding in Washington, D.C., are substantial, which includes the 11th Street Bridge Park. The Caps Arena and the Wizards Arena will transform Gallery Place, completely transform a Gallery Place, which means new energy in downtown, which has suffered mightily since the pandemic and has not experienced a rebound as some of the areas in the region have since then. We've got St. Elizabeth's, which purposefully does not have an apostrophe. And I don't know if it's on purpose, but when St. Elizabeth's went online as a psychiatric hospital many, many years ago, the apostrophe was optional. And so I put it in there, honoring the optional apostrophe. But St. Elizabeth's has been the recipient of almost $1 billion in DC investment to create both affordable housing, new healthcare infrastructure, a destination for Washingtonians who have been without access to physical healthcare spaces, to fresh food, frankly, a food desert, a restaurant desert, a healthcare desert. That's changing with St. Elizabeth's and Cedar Hill Hospital, which opened several weeks ago. McMillan Reservoir, another area just north of our offices on 87 Florida Avenue, brings a huge development, 27 acres that used to be the water filtration plant. If anybody's been around there, it was sort of an underutilized, underappreciated, but very beautiful area in Washington, D.C., with this what sort of feels like or looked like brick cisterns. That was actually the gateway to public health in Washington, D.C., and our ability to grow as a city, because at that point, we were able to make sure that filtered water was available to all citizens and residents of Washington, D.C., which meant that we could actually grow. That has now been repurposed both as a historic site, a gathering place. There's a rec center there, a beautiful Olympic-sized pool, and the first residents moved in just a few weeks ago. That's a bright spot for the city. Along with Buzzard Point, national parks, and World Pride is coming. And I've heard, as a proud member of that community, that there's a lot of drama, but that's how it goes. We've seen the Kennedy Center retract and move back from hosting all people. And that's been hard for me personally. I know it's been hard for the region, but we will march on. And Pride did not start as a party. It started as resistance, and I'm here to be part of that resistance. Okay, the uncertain stuff. Obviously, we see and have seen and heard that the last continuing budget resolution included a $1.1 billion freeze of the 2025 DC budget. That put us in a precarious position. We have not still seen the reforecast of that budget, which would retract or contract our spending options. There's really no good reason for it, except for it to be punitive from the current administration for Washington, D.C. We're hoping that that will get resolved when Congress decides to take it back up, but there could be complexity there. It doesn't add to it doesn't subtract from a deficit. It doesn't add any value to anyone. It just subtracts from DC. And that is an unfortunate reality we're having to manage and try and understand as it becomes a reality and as we hope and wait for it to become an unreality. We're continuing to see job losses. I wish that that weren't true. If I had a magic wand, I'd give everybody a great job. I'd have some healthcare involved, some education and housing, but that is not the way the world seems to be designed at this moment. And we have seen, in particular, our federal workforce and our civil servants, who I appreciate deeply, as we all should, lose their jobs really for no good reason at all. That has been hard on the region's morale. It's been hard on our local economy. And obviously, it is disrupting how, when, and whether people want to stay in this region or come to this region. We also have home rule. question marks. Are we going to be able to maintain home rule, which we've had for 50 years now? We have been disrupted before as a region. I want to point that out. We've been disrupted as a world before, and we have done hard things, and we have come out better for those times, but that doesn't make being in the time easier. And I understand that, both as a business owner, as a wife, as a mom, and as someone who cares really deeply in all the ways about community and this world. The DC regulatory environment, which Pavan chatted about along with other legal influences, is something that we want to consider and make sure that we're on top of. I think that there are some scenarios where it can create fewer barriers and burdens for our owners, and other scenarios where it will be create more barriers. We will stay on top of that, and we will continue to inform you. Rental occupancy and rental pricing, I put that as uncertain, but not necessarily uncertain in a bad way. I'm going to talk in a minute about where we're seeing the market go. But for now, that is really where I see both sides lining up. I would also like to caveat here that people will always live in Washington, D.C., and we will always want safe, dignified homes and housing that people want to be in. And that our job right now is to do the best we can to make sure that we're caring for those residents and those properties, and that we continue to offer one of the most important things in the city, which is a strong housing mix. Okay, so let's talk about housing. Well, here's some of the bright spots. Look, we have a Capitol Pride. We've got the new Capital One Arena. And that's the 11th Street Bridge Park up there in the upper right. And for those who have not had a chance to explore what that is, it's a park that reunites east of the river with west of the river, where freeways really bifurcated the city and underscored segregation for Washington, D.C. This reattaches those two communities and creates a lot of opportunity for development, both in terms of affordable housing, new businesses, new gathering places. It will be similar to the High Line in New York City for anybody that has been there, where they converted an elevated subways system and created an overground park. So it's like having a little, a little central park, except that runs all the way up the city. I'm gonna get my dog's honking toy here. And right, this is what working from home and life looks like. Okay, so what does the market look like right now? Condo sales are slowing, and that will likely lead to a larger rental pool for individuals who own condos in buildings. That is a consideration. Of course, we don't know yet whether or not that inventory or how that inventory is going to balance itself out. As always, and this isn't actually particular to this time, but neighborhoods have different favorability periods. So Navy Yard is favorable for renters right now, less favorable for buyers. Neighborhoods like Colorama, which are sort of old school, what everyone thinks of as Washington, D.C. and DuPont, they typically always enjoy favorability, but they may not compete as well with some of the high amenity multifamily buildings that are in the region. We're seeing home sales and listings increase 25%. And obviously that's a moving number, but we have been waiting for many months to see whether or not there has been a substantial impact on the region when it comes to people leaving and selling their property. We do not sell property, and I want to highlight that actually. Almost everybody in this industry does sell property, and we've never done that because we want to manage property. That's all we want to do. We don't want to have shiny ribbons of selling. We want to do this and do it well. Do it as best as we can and get better at it all the time. So that is something to consider. We work with and talk to agents all the time to see what's happening in the industry. And again, we have a lot of access to developers and other folks that are investing in this city to see what they're seeing and to understand better what their calculus is around how they want to invest. And with that, we're seeing that multifamily investors are retreating from Washington, D.C. in particular, and the region as well. Montgomery County, Washington, D.C. have different onerous barriers to property that, or to renting property that make it challenging and much less attractive for investors. Several years ago, we had 25 cranes in the sky. Today, we have, I think, 6 or 7 cranes in the sky. And that is basically the canary in the coal mine when it comes to multifamily. But I want to pause for a moment and remind folks that we are a scattered site property management company, which means our properties are spread all throughout the city. I'll offer that that is good news for you, and it makes management very complicated for us. Multifamily buildings come with one set of investors. You tackle those, you manage everything to a particular formula, and your work is contained. When you have multi-site and you have properties throughout the city, obviously there are more considerations because we have a lot more individual units and individual personalities and all the things that go with management. But at the same time, your properties, the properties in our portfolio, we think shine, but they're also more accessible cost-wise. And that's in part because we're not actually working with high amenity buildings where you have a pool and an elevator and all these things that would be the responsibility of that resident to sort of pay into their portion of those amenities. When the economy is bright and people have cash to spare, high, amenity rich buildings are great, because who doesn't want a dog walker that can pop by the building and check in with the concierge and take that dog for a walk? When you're contracting, amenities are kind of the first thing to go. You're going to get rid of that gym membership. You're going to rethink whether you want to take the solid core classes. You can do that on YouTube at home. This is where we're finding that people will want to be, I think, a little bit more thoughtful about where they want to live and what kind of commitment they're making to what we always see are very substantial year-over-year costs that increase for our residents that are in those multifamily buildings. So this does create a competitive advantage for people in the Nest portfolio. Rents do continue to increase. That is not to say that we would offer or suggest that you increase rents necessarily, but that does posit that we will not see a complete sort of downhill move in terms of rental pricing. Of course, that remains to be seen. So we have more honking in the background just to make this a Monday for fun. All right, so we went through, and that is more or less what we know to be true. We know that everyone is super stressed about what this means for your individual rentals. For your, at least
New puppy.
This is bird themed, so she's on brand. We know that everybody is concerned, as they should be, about what the value of their rental looks like, whether they should sell, whether they should stay in that, what does anyone have to look at in terms of their liabilities? There's like all of us, I think, are considering and assessing what our options are right now, particularly in this region. So for us, we're looking at what our priorities are and responsibilities are in terms of being able to meet this moment, not just for our residents, but for our clients and for our team members as well. This is how we're looking at priorities for our client and resident base right now. We want to make sure that our vendors are meeting you where you are and where we are, which is making sure that you're getting the best work at the best price. We're in the middle of doing a deep analysis of our vendors, making sure that they're aligned, not just with what we expect in terms of quality and pricing, but values, frankly. We want to work with small businesses that are the fabric of our local economy. We are one of those businesses, and we want to make sure we continue to honor those who are honoring what it means to continue to care for and support our owners and other business owners. So that is something that we are in the process of tackling, and we're feeling very good about knowing that we can align with vendors that I think meet the moment for us and for you. And we take good care of those vendors. We pay on time. We make sure that they're getting clear communication. We want to make sure that they understand we respect their work. Not very many people know that I was the original maintenance lady. I did all the maintenance for the properties when we started. I love working with my hands, and I also love people who love working with their hands. Our team members that do in-house maintenance put their bodies on the line every single day for us and for your properties and for your residents. And that's important for us. This is a couple of our team members on these ladders. We are insured, we are licensed, we are bonded, we care about OSHA, and we care about them. We're looking at how tariffs will impact client costs. We already know that equipment and things that require any kind of imported material are going to experience different cost structures than they had. And by experience different cost structures, I mean prices are going to go up. That's a longhand for prices are going to go up. We are going to be aware of that and communicate that as we manage and help you move through different repairs and things that need to be done at properties. This will impact things like HVAC systems, like your heat pumps, your hot water heaters, generators, other things that require large equipment. We're already hearing from vendors that there may be increased pricing. We don't like that. We don't like it for you. We don't like it for anybody. We're all trying to adjust to this new reality as business owners and wanting to do whatever we can to care for our clients, knowing that that's not always exactly how things are working in the rest of the world. So that moves me to preventive maintenance. We're looking at how can we make sure we're extending the life as much as we can of your HVAC and your hot water heaters. And tending to things as they are instead of getting instead of replacements being basically emergent. We will be in touch with those status updates on biannual updates that we're offering all of our owners, and we'll be coming out and making some recommendations for things that we can do to help make sure that your systems are maintained. We're also doing things on the resident side that we think of what we want to do for our clients. First of all, and I'll start kind of at the end, which is that we're asking our residents to self-serve, meaning what can we do to help you get some basic, DIY skills to get through that disposal reset problem that you have. If you've got a hair clog, what can we do to help you tackle that on your own? This is what a toilet chain is versus something that actually needs to be repaired. Our maintenance coordinators are focused on helping to ensure that our residents don't need to have a ticketed maintenance event with you and can handle that on their own where and as we can. We're going to try and focus more on that education. We've been sending blogs and other content for our residents on how to make sure that they're doing things properly as the seasons change, making sure that they're changing their air filters, making sure that they're actually just interacting with their thermostat the right way. That is a high bar. Thermostats are tricky, but people like to think if the higher it goes or the lower it goes, the faster it'll go. And that's actually not how it works. So that can often lead to freezing and things like that. Giving our residents education on how to maintain their homes well means that they're maintaining your investment well, and that's important to us. Okay, so we also have new options for our residents to do credit reporting. One of the things that's important for us is to make sure that we're standing out in a way that's a little bit different from other management companies because we want your rentals to stand out. There's something called the resident benefits package that's been quite popular over the last 5 or 6 years that most of the management companies in the region charge, and those usually range from $40 to $65 per month per resident each month. So that adds up to a lot of money. That money is not that money does not go to the owner. That money goes to the management company, and residents do receive benefits for those packages. I can't say that the benefits are that impressive. Utility turn on, some liability insurance, a maintenance call center is one of the things that's featured there, which I think should actually just be part of management. So we have never pursued a resident benefits package. That actually is an advantage for you and for the residents because it means that we're not tacking on an arbitrary kind of absurd amount for things that they mostly don't need. What we have done is recognize that there are two things. Our residents are not getting any positive impact on their credit scores when they're paying on time. There was a point at which AppFolio, our management software, was offering and doing credit reporting to Experience for residents. They were doing full file, which means that they were reporting both positive and negative credit to Experian. They discontinued that program during the pandemic. And since we've understood that really only 5% of folks who rent are able to have their credit scores reflect that payment history. So we've partnered with Boom. Boom is a company that does that credit reporting for residents to all 3 credit bureaus. We're offering an optional package for our residents for $10 a month. They can get positive only rent reporting to the 3 different credit bureaus. And we feel really good about that. It will only help them build their credit scores. So we're in the process of communicating that right now. And we're the only management company that has offered just that one opportunity for residents. We also recognize that our residents were being hit with a fee from AppFolio that we didn't love. And so, and also it seemed arbitrary, and it was increasing the number of folks that wanted to drop their rent checks off. So we had a $2.49 payment that was required for ACH payments by our residents paying rent through ACH. And part of our commitment to caring for residents was to negotiate to have that fee reduced as part of the boom credit reporting. So we're excited about doing the right thing there. I don't think that there's ever been a management company that wanted to reduce fees, but we believe in doing that. And we're excited to offer both things as ethical value add opportunities for our residents. We think that creates a better resident experience. And when your residents are happy, they stay longer and they care more for their properties. That's just the bottom line. As someone who's started this like 100 years ago and 27 years ago, I can certainly reinforce how effective it is to help the residents know how much you care about them, and that they will do the same for your investment. Not 100% of the time, not everything's going to be perfect or easy, but I do know that when you manage with care, that the output is it feels good to do good business. So what we're hoping for, fewer maintenance requests for you. We'd like to have your residents stay longer. We'd like to reduce turnover, meaning we don't want folks to leave until they're ready. We want them to feel like they're getting a great property at a great price, and that you're getting what you need in terms of your goals being met. So what are your goals right now? In terms of meeting this moment with you, we want to understand if your investment goals or your options for your property are changing, so we can help walk you through the right options for that. We want to help track increases and stabilize rentals. At some point, we would just automatically increase rents because that was a year-over-year expectation, both for our owners and for our residents. But right now, that may not be the priority. There have been certain scenarios during the recession when I actually lowered rents for residents so that they didn't feel compelled to leave. I much rather would have lower rent than no rent. And that was at risk at some point. So we want to be thoughtful about the best decision for you in understanding what those long-term impact is having. Is there a benefit to raising, or is there a benefit to maintaining the rents there? So there isn't a rule of thumb. The whole hand is different. So we need to navigate with agility where we are in this operating environment, both for ourselves and for you and for our residents. We want to make sure that your rental stands out, and we believe it does. We've done a lot of work to make sure that that's true. If you need to sell, we can walk you through what your options might be from a very neutral perspective. So since we don't sell anything, you can be assured that if that's something you want to explore, we're going to give you the most neutral guidance possible. And of course, if there's any resource we can offer there, just let us know. Compliance and administration is always going to be a high priority for us. That's why we have Puven. It's why we're so fully immersed in what this environment looks like for us in terms of risk and making sure that your properties are not exposed. In terms of marketing, leasing, and external affairs, showing up, being present in the community, it's so DC that I would use the phrase external affairs or in a property management slide deck. But marketing and leasing is important. How are we doing that work for you? And how is the lease sort of meeting that moment for residents? Is it compliant with where we are in terms of legal considerations? There is a lot of nuance to managing property in the city, and there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that you're hitting all of those check marks. But how we market is very different from how other management companies do that work. And I want to share a few of the things that we're doing that help us stand out so your property stands out. We have a YouTube channel. We've completely rebuilt our website. We have a strong digital advertising environment where we're constantly promoting properties. The goal is that clickable eye candy that people really like when it comes to, I want to creatively visualize myself in a space. We do a lot to make sure that your properties shine. We also want to create a lot of visibility. Our newsletter goes out to 11,000 subscribers every week, and we have almost 40% open rate for those newsletters, which is kind of unheard of, especially for a property management company. But one of the tricks for us is that we don't talk about property management because it's very boring, And what we do talk about is how to maintain your property, how to make it home, where the great roof decks are, where to go to museums, things that actually are relevant to our residents and people that actually like us and care about us. We're very socially present, lots of social media channel presence, both in Instagram, Facebook, and in LinkedIn as well. So and obviously in community. So we've got our nest letter here on the left, and we're letting folks know it's getting ahead of beating the heat. So AC tune-ups, ceiling fans, so that folks know how to use those properly. That can be confusing, and not everybody's curious and looks it up. So it's good for us to help people get insight onto that, even when they didn't know they wanted to know. So we've got free guides to management so people can understand what those options are. That's on our website. And you can see here that our Instagram really does a nice job of reflecting not just who we are in terms of our rental, but who we are in terms of being people. And we are people. So we want to manage homes with care personally. And what we're seeing as we look at the industry is that most management companies, I can't find who owns the company or who works for the company. And we're very much here as humans caring for the properties that your residents are living in and your properties themselves. And we want to keep doing business that way. We want to keep providing good jobs. I want to keep providing good jobs for people that live in and care about this region and care about you and your properties and the people that are living in them. So a little bit more here, you can see that this is our YouTube channel. We are doing trainings live, sort of uh, training, what is simulations, the simulations so people understand how different walkthroughs work. We're recording those so people understand like what is the heart of showing your property and showing a property with care. We're spending time as a team. We're making sure that we remember that there is some joy in the work that we're doing. There's joy in supporting and caring for other community members as well. This is us at a fundraiser for Martha's Table. Oh, I'm sorry, my sister's place. And it was great for us to spend time across team members, which is always an important part of building culture for a company, particularly when companies are not favoring culture now. They're favoring AI and bottom line and making sure that there's margin, margin, margin. And we care about being successful, but being successful doesn't happen unless you care about your team. And that's where we choose to make sure that we're not underestimating the power of being together and coming together. So we have our Nest blog here, which you'll see again does a good job of not only highlighting things you can do in the city, but highlighting what it means to maintain your property and different organizations that we work with. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes chatting about standing up for democracy and how maybe that feels a little bit risky right now. And it's actually exactly why we're standing up. We're in a region that is values aligned with being an SDC, which is we care about justice, we care about democracy, we care about people having access to healthcare, housing, and education. And I will always believe that. And I believe that as a company, I have the unique responsibility to make sure that we are standing out and standing up for what we think is right. We are not new to this conversation. This has been my model for management when I first started the company 16 and a half years ago, and it will always be my lens. I know we're not perfect, but I also know that we care the most, even on the hardest days, even when we're not nailing it. And what does that mean? It means not just, again, caring about that bottom line. It means caring for other people. It means paying it forward. It means doing what's right for the community. In 2020, I had this crazy idea that we would do what we could as an organization to say, hey, this real estate industry has really helped define the racial wealth gap. And I understood that I didn't feel comfortable being part of an industry that had soared while others didn't, and at the expense of others. I knew it was our responsibility and it was our privilege to be able to do something about that. And perhaps not at a grand scale, but actually at a very microscopic scale, we decided we wanted to help people achieve home ownership. When I was in college, I had a relative that I didn't know existed before, my cousin Richard. I cared for him while he was sick with AIDS. And it was the best 2-year conversation I never expected to have. And he left me his car because mine was a hunk of junk. And he said, I really don't want you driving that hunk of junk. And I sold his car and I immediately bought a duplex. And I was a landlady in this tiny little 1893 Adobe duplex. And it was the best decision I ever made against someone's wishes. And with that, my entire life changed. And I understand that that moment, however hard that 2-year conversation was, did not come with paperwork, did not come with having to take classes, did not have to come with proving that I should have gotten that $8,300. It was a matter of generational wealth. And I wanted to do the same for others who did not have the benefit of generational wealth because they had been excluded from that opportunity. Typically, because of race, but also in some cases because of gender. So what I did was I launched the Birdseed Foundation, and we give no strings attached down payment grants to first-time eligible home buyers. And for the most part, that has been very much us embracing a BIPOC community having access to funds that will help them achieve home ownership and help them build generational wealth. We know the racial wealth gap has undermined the upward mobility of those who have, for no other reason, been denied that upward mobility except for their race. I'm so excited and happy that this program has soared. It is a standalone nonprofit now that volunteers run and that we're still engaged in and really excited about. We have had 37 families have purchased homes with our support. Over 70 grants have been awarded, and this last round we had 320 applications. You can get involved in Birdseed at any time. And again, I hope that you feel that being with a values aligned company, and I'm going to assume most of your values aligned, feels good, because right now I know that I'm spending my dollars more differently, if that's a thing, differently than I ever have, and more intentionally than I ever have. And I always spend my money intentionally, but there's really no amount of research. Go to the About Us page, the About Us page. You don't have to go to our About Us page to know that we care about democracy, this world, this region. And we will continue to do so with programs like Birdseed and all the other things that we do. We have an event on May 20th, the Mark at the Laundry Building. If anybody in the region can attend, we'll be honoring the DC Affordable Law Firm, which partners with Birdseed to offer free will and trust planning, because it's one thing to own a home, and it's also really important to make sure that that home is always protected from predatory developers who will come in and swoop in and take homes from people that don't necessarily have the resources to make sure that they're legally protected. So with that, I'm going to open it up with questions, or 4 questions, and I'm going to stop sharing. But before I do, I want to let folks know that we have committed to doing these seasonally, and we will have another one in August. If you were able to join but joined late, we are going to share this recording. If you have questions that don't get answered, or candidly, if you have something that is complicated and you'd like to just discuss it with us, we can take those questions outside of this conversation as well. But for now, I'm going to go ahead, and Grace is going to help us navigate questions if you can drop them in the chat for us. And then I will stop sharing when I figure out how to stop sharing, which will be soon. Okay, I stopped sharing. All right. So I think, Grace, can people put comments in chat?
Yeah, Sue, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Awesome.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. Folks can put questions in the chat if they have any. I know we went over on topics. My first question was, can you show us that dog that was squeaking the toys? I know folks may want to see as they're thinking well, through the question. I was surprised Dottie didn't make any good.
It was Dottie, but I'm going to show you this one.
Oh, there's the
She would have done it. So, but this is good.
They have
It feels just like the pandemic right now. But that's okay. Figure that out.
Okay, maybe they can only direct message host. So thanks for joining, spending time with us. So in December, forecast federal jobs may be reduced and that there may be an increase in contractors renting. Do we is happening, trying to get a pulse since she had relocated back to Richmond, or a lot of North Virginia folks have relocated.
Okay. You cut out a little bit, but I think the question was, do we see continued job loss in Washington, D.C. from the federal employees and then again, the adjacent government contracting and other industries that will be impacted by job loss? Grace, give me a thumbs up if I got it right. And should I move back to Richmond? Okay. I can't tell anyone where or when to move or whether to move, but what I can say is yes, we will see adjacent industries impacted. Frankly, I think most of the government contractors in the region broke for Trump and voted for him, and they're all mightily regretting it because he really froze many of their contracts. And that has been disruptive. We are also going to go back to Congress to renegotiate this budget, and we don't know yet whether or not some funding that has been restricted or cut will be restored. Congress decides appropriations. And so there are still some question marks about whether or not we'll see continued and adjacent job losses. So when the federal government sneezes, the whole country gets a cold, the whole world gets a cold. So we don't know yet still how other areas are going to be impacted, which is shorthand for I don't know if we should move to Richmond. There could be impacts there. I can say this, and that's why I started with bright spots. A lot of money is in the city. A lot of people bet hard on Washington, D.C. They want their money back. They are not going to just accept that DC lost its bond rating, its AAA bond rating last week because it's a riskier environment. They are going to do what they can to lobby and fight for the city to be strong again and for the region to be strong again. We've also diversified quite a bit as a region over the last decade with a lot of new technology companies and companies like Mars, pharmaceutical companies, Amazon HQ. I know that there are a lot of different feelings about Amazon, but they have been a strong employer and they have been a very strong contributor to our local economy and to our local nonprofit and affordable housing environment. But Richmond is great. I really like the Quirk Hotel. I cannot hear Grace, but if someone can tell me what she's saying.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
My phone switching, sorry. Sheila is living in Richmond. I'm sorry that I cut out, but for a while, so just trying to get a pulse on what's going on here. There's a lot of development happening in Richmond where it's frozen here. I think one of the things we're gonna have more on Compass Town Hall is, you know, how many renters they notice because of job. You know, we've anecdotally in a handful of our portfolio and all property types, but it hasn't been a massive wave yet. So yeah, we will, I think we can bring to August more of an insight of how is our base impacted. So good question. That's a lot.
And I think the one thing that, again, anecdotally that I'm seeing is more and more residents, you know, at the end of every 1 year or fixed term lease in Washington, D.C., the lease automatically by law goes month to month. And oftentimes we will try to encourage the resident to sign up for another year. And usually there's an incentive. If you go month to month, the rent will go up 10%, but if you just go, if you sign another year, it'll only go up 5% or whatever those numbers are. What I am seeing anecdotally is more and more residents saying, you know what, I'm not ready to commit for that extra year. So I'll go ahead, I'll pay the 10% increase or whatever. I want flexibility. I want the flexibility to be able to, if I do lose my job, leave. And that can come with real consequences for owners, because listing a property for rent in April or May versus November or December it's completely different markets, completely different prices. Things are going to sit on the market long. There's going to be a longer vacancy. And so again, what we'd like to do, and Lisa mentioned this semi-annual check-in that we're going to implement. Some of our home managers have been doing it, but we're going to implement a semi-annual check-in twice a year. You're going to get an email from us that's going to say, hey, listen, little mini audit of your property, and this is the maintenance that's happened over the past 6 months. This is when your resident is due to move out. We haven't had a conversation with them. Do you want to have a conversation with them? And so we're going to invite you to share with us what your goals. This is what Lisa talked about before. What are your goals for the property? What's most important to you? For some people, what's most important is zero vacancy. Fine. For other people, what's most important is highest rent. Fine. And so if we understand, again, we're scattered site, we've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of units. And so not hundreds of thousands, hundreds of units. And so not everyone's going to have the same goals. And so what we're going to do a better job of is reaching out to you and talking to you and understanding what your goals are so we can help you to reach them.
I want to thank everybody for taking their Monday evening to wait for me to get on a call while my dog honked her chicken. I do appreciate that it was chicken. And that I want to again appreciate and acknowledge that this is a hard time. And I wish all of you some joy, and some comfort and some care. So with that, we'll say goodnight and we will make this available after the fact. In the next few days, we'll send this out to folks. So thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.